He likes to pick somebody with like 3 or 4 songs.
That's what he did. He was amazing. And ever since then, we were trying to find, we go follow him and.
Yeah, he's White Elephant on Saturday nights and Backstreet's on Thursday nights.
Okay, because my
I turned that one on.
friend was like, no, he's gonna be at Backstreet's. I'm like, I don't think so, because we were at the White Elephant on Saturday.
And he's real grateful to Backstreet's. They like supporting him ever since he goes.
Okay, Jim, we're gonna turn the meeting over to you to get us started. This is the workshop meeting on Wednesday, March 28th, starting at 6:30-ish, 6:34. We have 3 members present, Robin Crawford, Chris Joyce, Dennis Lipp, and Veronica could not make it, and we're not sure of where Larry Lawrence or Burns might be. So let's get started, Jim.
Okay. Well, the first thing that we wanted to go through is the objective of our first task is to try to come up with the types of uses that we would like to see occur in the future along Okeechobee Boulevard. And
Can I ask just a question?
Certainly.
Could we have a recap of what happened at the last meeting? I know that it was kind of informal, but just because I wasn't here, just was anything?
Yeah, well, one of the main items that I think we developed consensus on was that we needed to plan based on the assumption that Okeechobee was eventually going to become 4 lanes. And we had fairly lengthy discussions about roundabouts and whether or not we should promote those uses, and that we needed to incorporate within our comprehensive plan policies the assumption or the acknowledgement that Okeechobee was going to become 4-laned, and we talked about several traffic calming devices, like I said, like the roundabouts and traffic lights, and also narrowing the lanes.
Was it 11 feet?
Yeah.
Yeah, to a smaller size, because that encourages cars to drive slower. And I believe we talked a little bit about horse trails, and we don't really have a specific policy on horse trails along Okeechobee, and that if we were going to be requiring horse trail easements such as P&Z recommended on the Day property, that we needed to have more of a comprehensive policy to base those recommendations on. We talked somewhat about the uses. We talked about activity centers a little bit, and based on that discussion, I sort of got the feeling that the activity centers, which would essentially be small shopping centers, that's not necessarily a concept that the LPA favors. So in my proposed revisions to the amendments, I took activity centers out and left a couple of the other concepts that we had talked about out.
So the question is, when we had initially, the very first meeting we had, or it might have been the lead up to the first meeting, where you had the recommendation of creating its own land use and zoning for Okeechobee Boulevard, are we still moving forward in that direction?
Well, with the policy statement that I have now, we could go in that direction, or we could keep the land use categories as they are, and the types of uses that, broad categories of uses, basically just two for commercial, can fit within the framework of the land use categories that we already have. We can create a new one and incorporate those two categories within the new land use category, or we can just keep the CL and CLO and have individual applications come in for those, only allowed to apply for these two types of basic uses. So.
Do you think that we're safer though with a designated land use category for Okeechobee Boulevard that has assigned uses so that we know what we're gonna get?
Yeah, well, we can still put limits in the comp plan, which would limit how uses in the corridor relate to the zoning district.
I know, the only thing, and I'm sorry I interrupted you, but the
That's okay.
only thing, and this happens everywhere in every community, and Dennis, you probably, or maybe you wouldn't agree with this, but when you allow people, and you mentioned there was a real estate person here at the last meeting, you know, they're chomping at the bit to see what happens with Okeechobee Boulevard, because you get those falsely inflated values.
Yeah.
People assume that every single property is now commercial because they have the opportunity. So, that's right, so speculation takes place, values go up falsely, you know, properties get sold and then resold, and then we wind up having all vacant properties, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but then you've got out of, you know, state owners and properties aren't being maintained, and then that's a whole nother set of issues. Or we wind up with a piece of property like the one that was rezoned and the land use changed along Southern Boulevard that has a non-conforming house on a, you know, commercially zoned property. So,
The real estate agent.
yeah,
Yeah.
so, I mean, I would hate, I think we need to be more careful with Okeechobee Boulevard, and I know Veronica has said this over and over again. We need to, you know, work our plan our work, and decide what the vision is going to be, and then come in. So if it had its own land use and zoning category, and this, I mean, this is fine. Okeechobee Boulevard non-residential land use, that's the land use. Now, what are the permitted uses in that land use? And I don't think it should be commercial low or office low,
Yeah.
you know? And if the zoning stayed AR, but the uses were different because you were on Okeechobee Boulevard, that might be a way that we protect ourselves.
And I also think, I mean, if we have our own land use category, we may also then have to come up with our own zoning districts.
Not necessarily though, Jim, because if you are saying that the land use if the land use is specific to the Okeechobee Boulevard corridor, and you're still saying the zoning is AR, you could still do that, because you're not giving this a commercial, and you're just,
Burns, let the record show that Burns CEO is here.
maybe it's not, maybe it's just Okeechobee Boulevard, you know, maybe it's a different language other than non-residential land use element, but I think there's a way to do it, and maybe if it's a different zoning category, then it's Okeechobee ag. But I think straying away, keeping it in ag zoning protects us, I think. And then we just create, this is it. This is all you can do on Okeechobee Boulevard. And if it's 5 categories, if it's 5 uses, and that's all it is, then everyone in the world, the development world knows, okay, you're not gonna come in when this thing goes to 4 lanes and start chipping away and shopping center here and a different request there, because when we're gone and a different council gets put into place soon or later, you know, who knows what's gonna happen. And, you know, you get this. So someone else coming in may not, and someone else coming in may just say, Okeechobee 4 lanes commercial, you know, drive-ins, drive-throughs, don't even get out of your car, just, you know. So I feel like this is our opportunity to, you know, you create the land use category, the zoning could remain agricultural, Okeechobee, and then you create whatever those uses the community has been telling us they want. So everybody gets a little piece of what they want, but not entirely. It's a compromise.
I think our work tonight, I've got a few goals that I'd like for us to accomplish tonight, and this is to go through that list
Yeah,
and line out things that we don't want,
right.
and then come back or put, or circle things that we want. You know, like to do things on a positive level then versus on a negative level.
Mhm.
So I'd like to get that done tonight. I'd also like to get to strengthen up the language. And I know it's just you, Jim, because you're a developer. It's on
No.
1.17.1.
Okay,
The town acknowledges that Okeechobee Boulevard will ultimately be improved. Strike the word improved to a 4-lane divided median section. It just is going to be. I don't want to say it's improved, because I think personally, it's the best it could possibly be now,
okay,
because we're never going to get it back to dirt
yeah.
with Ocean speed tables.
Do you want, but do you know it's gonna be a 4-lane median divided section?
That's what the county has on their 5-year road plan.
Then maybe that's what you say. You acknowledge that that's what their plan is, because that's not what we
Well,
want.
Well, that's,
So-
yeah, okay, well, let's cover that when we get to it, but
Yeah.
I have no problem with how that's worded. And I put that in there because of the direction that we, of the discussion, and it wasn't, it wasn't so much to confirm or support, the 4-lane, as it was to,
Acknowledge.
realize the fact that it is gonna happen at some point. And it's not on the 5-year plan yet, but it is on the long range.
Mhm.
So it's more of a done deal when it gets on the 5-year transportation improvement program. So that's not a done deal yet, but I mean,
Yeah.
that's as close as you can get, I
Yeah,
guess.
this is,
So
I like Grace's suggestion, you know, that it is on, Okeechobee is a county road,
Yeah,
and the county has plans to widen it.
yeah, okay, all right. Okay, yeah, well, let's get the specific language of that when we get to
Yeah,
that.
let's just charge through,
Okay, now the list of uses, there's essentially 4 zoning districts that the town has. Agricultural, residential, and then a combination of CL and CLO, commercial low and commercial low office, and then institutional and recreation and open space. Now, if we're gonna create a land use, a single land use category for Okeechobee, we probably need to go through all 4 of the zoning, or the land use categories, the zoning districts, and then pick out the kinds of uses that we want to see allowed in that single land use category.
Didn't we do that once? Didn't we have a
Well,
vote?
yes, what we did is on page 8. And that was the.
page 8 of 28.
Yeah, 828. And that was we had
Okay.
a workshop.
Right.
Okeechobee workshop, and this was handed out, this list was handed out at that workshop. So, we didn't get a great response to that, but, so we went through the page 8.
And these were the board comments.
And that was the consensus of the board.
5 yeses.
Of the uses on this list. Now this list does not include all of the permitted uses in the 4 zoning districts, so I wanted to do that in addition to this list here. So if you go to page 3, those are the permitted and accessory uses in the agricultural residential. it on the list. I can read them off and,
We'll just go yea or nay
Yeah.
and work down the list.
yeah, single family,
Yes?
mobile homes.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
you're on page 3 of 28.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, yes.
3 of 28, you're going down the list, it's already, it's already saying permitted or not permitted.
Yeah, those are the existing zoning districts.
Yeah.
Okay, that apply town-wide.
Correct.
Okay. We're talking about coming up with a new land use category for Okeechobee Boulevard corridor. And we're going through the town's various zoning districts to identify uses out of those districts that we think are appropriate for Okeechobee. Okay. So we have single family, yes, mobile homes.
No,
No.
Okay. Public schools.
we already have one. Is that a yes?
Yeah, because they can go anywhere they want anyway, so.
Congregate living facilities, type 1. Type 1 means it's limited to 6 beds.
Yes, and there's a whole Fair Housing Act component behind that anyway.
Yeah, okay. Nonprofit community recreational facilities, that would be something like a YMCA, YWCA, Boys Club.
No,
No?
at least my, we're just looking at traffic.
Okay, is that it?
So how does this work? Any of us can say no? and-
Yeah,
Well,
you say what you think.
Well, I'd like to at least have
Discussion.
a 3-to-1 vote on each one.
Because this is permitted with special exception, I think that it should remain. Just flat out saying, no, I don't know.
Well, again, this is where we're trying to create what the theme of Okeechobee Boulevard is going to be. So if that is, and that may be a place where we want a recreational facility. Or is it better to be closer to where the park is on Southern Boulevard to have a rec center? Because if you have a recreational facility along Okeechobee Boulevard, where's the support use to it? I would think. I know that now it's with a special exception, but now you get to change the rules. If you had the perfect plan, would you want a YMCA on Okeechobee Boulevard? That's your question.
Yeah, I mean, when I think of this, I think of, and my property's open, I have a lake, I have kids coming up
Mhm.
all the time trespassing. But when he says that a YMCA, boys and girls, I can see something here for them to kind of occupy their time, to do what they're doing.
Mhm.
So I'm inclined to say yes, and I like the fact that it's just with a special exception with more thought and more analysis that goes along with that. That's where I stand.
And so would you think that it would be fine there as well as Southern, or would you prefer to see it on Southern do that?
I wouldn't, I don't mind for it to be in Okeechobee. I mean, that's where we are. Okeechobee is where, I'm completely against commercial, and I think that's where, but if something that's just, I'm tailored to the kids and improving, I don't know if that's anywhere close to commercial.
It made you subtract, but what do you think, Chris?
If we are gonna look at this with a clean slate, you wanna use the permitted use table previous as a reference, but personally, I think I would prefer to encourage a use like this, which I agree with you, we definitely need in this community, somewhere closer to the park. So I would say no.
Robert, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to agree. I'd rather see that on Southern.
So we'd rather see it on Southern.
Okay.
So 3-1.
Okay, essential services. And essential services are defined as public utilities or government agencies, underground or overhead sanitary sewer.
We don't really have a choice.
Yeah, I think we probably need to say yes on that one. Commercial equestrian operations.
No, that's like a boarding stable? Or come in and rent a horse and go riding.
Could be polo grounds, I mean,
Yeah, it's, I mean, it covers a whole range of, I'm gonna try to summarize this definition, because it's pretty confusing. Businesses and activities other than for personal enjoyment of property that feature limited horse boarding, riding instruction, horse grooming and care instruction, horse training, breeding, guided or unguided horseback riding, and equestrian accessory uses.
so it would be for events,
If it has events,
a special permit.
yeah, that's right. It would have to be a special event permit to do that on the site. That's the Mercat. We have a couple that are interested now.
Personally, I think I would still support seeing that with a special exception. And through the special exception, you can determine how traffic would be generated and things like that. I think that that's an ideal use along Okeechobee Boulevard. I think that's something that should still be allowed. First, that's my opinion on
I agree with Greg on
So we got this one.
that. All good?
Yeah.
Wholesale nursery,
Yeah.
Yeah.
retail nursery.
that. Is there now?
Again, if we keep it with the special exception, because again, we have to protect ourselves.
Right. We're going through the various town zoning districts and.
For the uses on Okeechobee?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, is there a list?
Yeah, it's on, got
On
two
page
packages
3
there.
of 28.
Thank you very much.
Page 3 is where we are right now.
Thank you very much.
Okay, agriculture,
Jim, when it says permitted subject to Article 80,
yeah, that, Article 80 are the conditional use criteria, but we, similar to, the issue of agriculture, we just had to go through the
Yeah.
code and pretty much eliminate all of the local requirements.
Right.
Rather than Article 80 now, it's, there's a footnote that says, subject to state regulation, essentially.
Well, agriculture, I think we have enough of it throughout the roads, in places where it already exists. We don't need to have a special carrot shop in Okeechobee.
Is it considered agricultural?
not agricultural, but if you did a retail shop, I don't know that it would be considered agricultural, because that's a retail.
When we look up the definition, that's why I brought this. Let's see, as the agriculture is defined by chapter 570, includes aquaculture, horticulture, floriculture, viticulture, forestry, dairy, livestock, poultry, bees, and any and all forms of farm products and farm production.
Mhm.
So, I think when we were revising this Article 80 that dealt with agriculture, there was some kind of a conflict
Mhm.
as to whether or not it was bona fide ag and exempt as bona fide ag, or it was subject to some special agricultural regulation. So I don't know that we have a specific answer to that, as to whether or not it's bona fide ag. Well, we can say no, and then just leave in agriculture and bona fide ag.
I just wanted to add this, what about having it there as opposed to anywhere else? Does it seem better to have it along 80 than, along Okeechobee than next door to a lot of quiet residential areas?
That's a really good point.
They're already there.
Yeah, but I'd rather see
Yeah.
that.
You're talking about a regular ag zoning?
Well,
No, agriculture. We're talking about.
Oh,
so,
Um,
I don't think it would generate a lot of traffic.
You need to check with Diane Pendleton, the new agriculture property appraiser.
Yeah, and in fact, we have a meeting with her tomorrow. She's coming in to give us a lecture on Friday.
Yeah. They're gonna be inspecting every other year as opposed to every 5 years.
I don't know, I think that if our goal is to steer away from commercial or like serious commercial uses, what are we going toward,
Yeah.
you know? So,
I think the look of that could be better than a lot of
Yeah.
other stuff.
yeah, so I would say yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Sure.
Commercial kennel's not permitted, so I don't wanna see how it should
Yeah, I agree with you.
So leave those at a no?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, commercial kennels is no, chipping, mulching.
So, but does that mean something like Big Dog Rescue would be a no?
That's not.
No,
No,
that's not a
no.
commercial kennel.
That's not.
That's a rescue animal care,
Right, that's different.
farther down the list.
Okay.
be. Chipping and mulching, should not be allowed, it's,
I would say no. No, no.
Yeah, no, we have an issue on that almost every day.
Yes.
Feedlots.
Choquette,
Oh, feedlots.
feedlots not
Feed,
permitted.
yeah, feedlots are not permitted.
What's a feedlot? Where you sell feed or something?
No,
Yeah.
no, that's.
Oh,
what we-
if only, that's, if you're familiar with the Tampa stockyards, it's where they dump off the cows and feed them until they get fat enough to slaughter.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, commercial animal manure management is
No.
not permitted.
We already had
right-
that once.
Right now, okay. Commercial chipping and mulching.
No.
Okay. Rescue animal care,
It's same, I would keep it the same, because, yeah.
Well,
I
that
can't
should be
imagine- That's Big
permitted.
Dog Ranch.
yeah.
Well, but this is permitted with special exception,
Right.
but if you're not doing something like, to the caliber of Big Dog Ranch, you should be able to, help animals.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
have-
Big Dog Ranch is like a huge facility.
Yeah, we have it as a yes.
Oh, you have it as a yes?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, outdoor events,
I would say yes to that, because, you've got the churches who want to do that kind of
Right,
stuff, so
right.
I would. I'm assuming when no one else says anything that you're in agreement? Can we assume that?
Yes.
okay, agriculture,
Yes.
Yes.
bona fide,
Yes.
Which is the same.
wireless communications facilities.
Now, I want to chat about that for just a moment. Wireless communications facilities, how do we have that defined, Jen?
Cell towers.
Well, see now, they're not the same.
Okay, we have an entire section in the code that regulates, so let me see.
Yeah.
There's a definition. As a matter of fact, I think that's the biggest section in the entire code.
Yeah, it's a hot topic right now, and I know there's a lot of legislation bouncing around, so,
An antenna, stealth facility, or wireless communication tower is our definition.
an antenna stealth facility, so if
The ones that
you,
look like a flagpole or a tree.
well, here's my question about that. If you had, because if there's, let's say at the fire station, someone wanted to come in and attach an antenna to an existing pole, would that be considered a wireless communication facility?
It says an antenna, so I'm assuming it would have to be permitted through this large section that we have
Okay,
already.
all right, so the question is, do you want to see that on Okeechobee Boulevard?
It's already on.
It's really hard to say no to that, because there's regulations in the state that say municipalities really can't regulate where they go, the whole freedom of,
Yeah, I think the antennas or the stealth facilities
Yeah.
are probably fine. Getting a tower approved on Okeechobee, I think would be.
There's not enough area.
Really tough.
Yeah.
Because they have the full signals and all
Right.
that stuff.
okay.
So I don't think that, so we can put a yes there?
With special exception?
Yeah. Okay, do you want to go through the accessory uses or?
I think so.
I was just working on the list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Accessory dwelling.
Um, Yeah, I think as far as it's residential, anything residential should still be allowed. It was allowed before, it should still be allowed now. Is that your guys' feelings?
Yes.
Okay. Groom's quarter, I guess if we're going to allow commercial equestrian
Yeah.
operations, we should say yes for groom's
Yes.
quarters. Caretaker's quarter, probably the same thing.
Mhm.
Home offices,
Yes.
Well, then we're getting into, is it a small business thing, or is that, it's a home office versus a small business?
No, this is.
yeah,
Home
well, we
office.
covered that specifically
Yeah.
in the text of the proposed amendments.
So we don't cover small business enterprises and any of these other zoning?
Well, yes, there's, I mean, you can have, when we go through the commercial zone, so that allows certain business and retail uses. Residential enterprise,
Yeah,
wholesale nursery,
yeah.
retail nursery.
Now, what would a retail nursery be accessory to? A wholesale nursery? Is that, because how, I mean, if you're a retail business, what would your primary use be?
Well, you can sell to wholesale people or retail people. In other words.
How would you license that, Jim? If someone came in and they had a wholesale retail business, wouldn't you just
Well,
license?
Quintessence on Okeechobee
Yeah,
is essentially a retail operation. Do they collect taxes?
As a commercial use,
Yeah.
that I don't know.
Just to know, that's all it is.
so, I mean, I just, and if you're, it just seems like that doesn't seem like that would be an accessory use.
Well, I mean, if somebody had a house and they went to a wholesale nursery and bought, nursery products on a wholesale basis and had
Wholesale nursery on their residential property? Is that what you, no, I see what you're saying.
and had a retail nursery on their property as an accessory use.
Okay.
Well, Joey Quinn doesn't even live in West Sandy Groves, and he's got a nursery on, is it B, North B? And the Quintessence retail shop on Okeechobee.
Yeah, well, that could be the, that could be a bona fide ag, use.
Oh, sure it is.
Yeah, as a principal use.
But that's what I'm saying, if it's a principal use, but, okay. Let's just say, I would say yes for now. The retail nursery with a special exception should still stand, though, I think.
Okay.
All right.
You Pig Farms,
Yeah.
private kennels.
Can you give a description of that, please?
You know, when you get into the exotic breeds, and that was an issue with Big Rounding, was the wolfhounds that were really coming in on D Road, and they bark all the time.
Yeah, I would say that.
Jack Russell's, buffalo, yappers.
Yeah, I would say private kennels, just like you're saying, that would be like if you're raising a breed. And you're selling your dogs.
I just don't like that term, private kennel, because to me,
It's almost like a puppy mill.
or, I mean, how is a private kennel different than a regular kennel? Yeah, is it because you're,
It has membership.
it's, yes, you have to have a club membership. I just don't like the title of it. I mean, I get, if you're raising animals, and that's part of what it is that you do. I mean, you don't then have a private kennel.
Oh, okay, there is a definition.
Okay.
That any building or land used, designed, or arranged to facilitate the non-commercial private care of domestic animals such as dogs and cats owned by the occupants of the premises and not used for a commercial or not-for-profit organization such as a dog club.
So if a
So-
person had 10 dogs and they had private kennels where they keep their animals, they'd have to be licensed to do that?
No.
No, no.
Permitted.
No, they just have to, it's an accessory use, they'd have to get, they'd have to get that use,
Approved?
well, not just as permitted as an accessory use.
Okay, so okay, just walk with me here. So if you're saying, if you're calling this out as a use that is identified as a permitted use,
Accessory use.
as a permitted accessory use, how does someone go about getting permitted to do that?
He's,
Here in Los Angeles Grove, they don't.
But that's my point, then why is it on this list? So that would be like saying
Well, I would-
Are there
families.
requirements that you have to
well,
maintain?
Yeah.
no, there's no conditional use criteria for that. What I would say, the only way that we would have any control of that is if they came in for building permits to build the kennels, then Palm Beach County does the building permit process, but we have to sign off on the zone.
Okay, Okay.
To make sure they do the setbacks and any other landfill.
Was there any way around this one that we can, I mean, not say no to it, just not even list it?
well, if you don't list it though, you're right, and they come in with permits.
But if somebody's gonna build a structure,
You have to get a permit.
you have to know it.
Yeah.
Unless it's bona fide ag, and that's where.
Although, here's the other thing though, if it's in here, if private kennels are in here and we have a definition and someone is doing this and they're collecting money for it, and then
Yeah,
it's,
then it's not a private kennel anymore.
exactly, so then we have something to point to our code that says this is allowed, but only under these circumstances.
Right.
Oh,
No, this, you can have a private kennel, but only if you do it this way.
It's for your own personal.
Right, so,
pets.
and you are not doing it this way, so therefore you're in violation.
Because we had on our 5 acres, once upon a time, we don't have any more, but we had, like, an average of 8 to 10 dogs.
Right, no, I'm not, I'm saying that it's there to protect us from the people who aren't doing what they're supposed to do. As
They
opposed
slept
to,
under the trees.
yeah, they, dogs sleep where they want to. Yeah, I would leave it in for now.
I would agree with that, with the description of every.
Yeah, you've got a definition and it protects us, I think.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
And then the same thing with private stables.
Stables and yard sales.
It's the
Yeah.
stable owners.
Yard sales, yeah.
The next page 4. Okay, this
Now,
is where we get.
currently, yard sales, you have to get special permission for yard sales? Like that, too?
It's, it's got, you can do it under certain conditions, which are listed in the section 80. And then section 80 also requires a special exception.
Most communities have that, but very few really enforce it. But there are some that do.
Yeah,
They'll shut you down.
yeah. Well,
Shut down your lemonade stand.
we recently revised the special exception category, what we created categories A, B, and C. So if you have a fairly innocuous use like this, it's easy to get a special exception. The more intense of an event that you have, the more detailed review process that you have to go through. So getting a special exception approved for yard sales, not that difficult, but provided that you meet certain conditions, like you don't have porta potties and you don't bring in electric.
Man, that'd be some yard sale.
Yeah, no, I mean, that falls within that category,
Mhm.
category A. And you can't park cars overnight, things like that.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay, now, page 4 are the uses that are permitted in the CL and CLO district. First one, adult entertainment.
No.
Okay.
No, I answered for all four of us.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that adult entertainment was put in there in the first place because of all those lawsuits that occurred several years ago, brought by the adult entertainment industry that essentially says you have to have a place somewhere.
And we do,
And so,
commercial low.
yeah, commercial low, and we can exclude it from Okeechobee Boulevard. Video arcade.
I would say as a primary use, no. Because again, if our goal is to try to maintain the rural feel of Okeechobee Boulevard, even if it goes to 4 lanes, we still want it to feel like it's our hometown community. As a primary use, no. But if there was, if you had a restaurant that had video arcade games in it, that's fine, but.
Let me ask a question. I'm just trying to save us some time. Is there anything on this list that we're gonna say yes to? That's pretty what we should be asking, because I'm looking at this and I don't see anything.
What about childcare?
See, I would say yes to a banking institution if there was no drive-through facility. If it was a bank that you got out of your car,
Banks are gonna do that.
You know.
Banks require drive-through.
Yeah.
no, well, I'm
To be
just
in there.
saying, if, most banks like them, you don't have to have them. They're going to these virtual banks now, where you walk in the lobby. Have you seen the one that's downtown? The Chase Bank? You have a card, you walk in, there's one person that walks around, it's a virtual bank, making sure that everything that you're doing, your banking transactions, that you're doing inside just go through smoothly. But there are no tellers, there's nobody in there really that you can talk to.
Yeah, they have a
But-
semi, one of those on Okeechobee, just east of the high school.
It's kind of creepy, but whatever. But I'm thinking if the goal is to try to not promote car use, you want the cars to be flying through our community on Southern, but the folks who live in our community to be able to utilize Okeechobee Boulevard for our use, then, a bank wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea. And if a bank wanted to come, they'd have to concede to what the rules are. Better to allow it with some condition than to outright say no, because that could be a tax base that could come. Just my opinion. It's one person's opinion.
No,
Chime in.
no, I mean, if you saw that in this, then I don't know how you can not have other similar to that bank. You saw the credit union, you saw it doing, I mean.
That could fall under financial institution.
Yeah, but if you, I mean, the other issue is this, I don't know if that's the look that we want on Okeechobee, if we want it to be more agricultural, I don't know if that's the look we want.
It's community serving, is really, I wouldn't nail it down to something as tight as agricultural.
Yeah, I think all of the
Community
meetings
serving.
we've had up until this point, and taking into consideration some of the other original meetings from back in the day, it's a mix of things, but the goal is to have it so it doesn't look like Okeechobee Boulevard, east of here. We want people to recognize as soon as you hit, Okeechobee and Folsom, you're still you've just entered Loxahatchee Road.
Understood. No.
Okay, well, all right, is there anything on page 4 that any of the members?
What about wildlife?
It's always been a tough one for me. Is it a zoo or, like Nancy?
Yeah, well, we just
Farms, with their little petting zoo thing.
revised that ordinance also. And, let's see, class 1, which are the big animals, elephants, Lions tigers are not allowed.
Right.
Now, that's by state.
Yeah, I would say no to that
Okay.
personally, no. But I would say yes to child care center, and I would still say yes to bank without a drive-through.
So the financial,
Okay.
with,
Child care center, yes.
But I don't know what anybody else thinks, but those, like, those would be the only ones.
How about barber shop, beauty salon?
I don't think we voted on the
We
ban.
actually have on the barber shop use,
We have one on Okeechobee Road?
no, we voted on it before.
Didn't we say no?
We said no, but it would be serving the community.
Yeah, I don't have a strong feeling one way or the
But
other.
no drive-through barber shop.
Yes, you have to get out of your car.
there you go.
Okay, let's run through them then. Arcade video, no.
No,
Automobile repair shop?
No.
Okay. Bank?
without drive-through.
Do we all agree, I mean, do we have at least three?
That's, yeah, I mean, without a drive-through. That's
All right.
interesting.
Or lunch club, no.
Okay. Bar, lounge, tavern?
No.
As a, like a straight up bar without a restaurant?
I would say that that's what this means,
Okay,
yes.
I would say no. Do people even do that anymore?
What?
Have a straight up bar without a restaurant?
Yeah, we got Ralph's and Jeepers.
Well, you
That's been there for like a billion years though.
can go to Booties.
Yeah,
Okay,
we want to eat there.
barber shop, beauty shop, nail salon?
I guess so.
That's it, I see it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
What do you
small, neighborhood sort of business.
Uh,
No.
hold on, we're not,
Yeah, sorry.
yeah.
Talk barber shop, I would say no.
I don't know what people use barber shops for.
My husband gets his haircut at a barber shop. Oh,
As
never
soon as you
mind.
shave yours now, Dennis, take it easy. Everybody else needs a trim.
You got me.
Okay, so that's a yes or no?
I think you got 2 and 2, or you got 3 and
I said
1.
yes.
Oh, you said yes? I said okay. I remember.
Pool hall,
No.
car wash?
No.
What's wrong with a car wash?
Yeah, I would say that that's what might be in demand up here.
Would it be an automatic? I mean, do we care if it's?
I think,
Well, it
again,
says
I don't think,
Yeah, yeah, this says either one.
yeah, but I don't think that's for Okeechobee Boulevard. That's the vision that everyone talked about, which, again, this is a compromise. You know, some folks want it all commercial, some folks want no commercial. So we're kind of tasked with coming up with that compromise. And think about it, where's it gonna go?
Put it on Southern Boulevard, one of those nice top hat car washes or something like that, like the one that's over on Center 07.
Okay, so that's a no. Catering or food service, delivery?
No.
No.
Childcare?
Yeah.
Define that, is a regular,
Straight up daycare center?
daycare?
Like, yeah.
Now, we got Planet Kids and.
Planet Kids.
And Noah's Ark.
Noah's Ark.
Yeah, there's two.
They really need to do their traffic. a lot.
Childcare center, a place for the daycare and or instruction of children not remaining overnight, includes preschools.
How's that so different, a boys YMCA?
Seth, did you raise the temperature in here?
Besides the fact that one is older kids and younger kids, how's that different?
Like 78 would be a good temperature.
Boys and girls club.
I mean, I don't think a boys and girls club is more of an activity center. This is to care for a child while parents working and provide some instruction, and you can't stay overnight.
Sort of working with girls.
I see your point, no, I see your point, but I think that the use is a little bit different because what a Boys and Girls Club does in a community, activates a community where, and I don't mean this in any derogatory way, most daycare centers, parents are like in and out. They're like dropping their kids off or picking them up and they're going because they're on their way to work. Where with a community center like that, you want that activity happening all day long, people in and out, parents and children and other things like that. I think it has a different impact. They're both positive, but I just think the impact.
And I think the
Is a little
Boys and Girls Club have a lot more night activities.
Yeah, and weekends and things like that.
May I ask you a question?
Sure.
You guys said no to catering or food service delivery. Why, if it was delivery, why would you say no to it? Because then it wouldn't create a lot of traffic, and then people could do something like that, and it would be a delivery basis. I don't understand why that would be a no.
Well, I think, having something like that on Southern, would be the appropriate place for it. We're just trying to envision.
Right, but
something
if you had a little
more
place that
visually.
you did your cooking and stuff, and you were delivering it,
What's the definition of catering and food service delivery?
And there's no
No
definition
definition.
of catering.
And can it occur anywhere else?
Well, the thing is, it also.
Yeah, it's allowed under commercial though.
Papa John's, because it's delivery, and it's catering, essentially, Pizza Hut.
Food service.
you can't give Royal Palm all the business. We need a little tax dollar.
Preparation and or provision of food for consumption intended for individual portion service on or off the premises.
So it could be like, Little Caesars or something.
But don't we do Little Caesar under restaurant? Yeah, that would be like a home.
I thought it would be like a home cooking thing where you could do
That's
catering.
a cottage industries
Yeah.
has
And deliver.
that, is a little bit different.
Okay, yeah, under food service, it says that you can prepare it and consume it on the premises.
But we're not looking for that. We're looking more for the delivery side.
What's the, is it the AG market on Southern? They have food in there.
Well, that would fall under delicatessen
Well,
or
no.
convenience store.
See, what I'm visualizing catering and food service is not, is your traditional caterers, which do very big events.
That's what I was
That's what we were
Yeah.
thinking.
And like I have a friend that cooks dinners, like she gets orders and she cooks dinners,
And
and then
delivers
she
them.
takes like, 20.
And
Yeah.
the two places that I've worked with are in industrial parks.
Yeah.
In Wellington. back
Yeah,
off of-
generally that's where they're located, where you have a big commercial kitchen, unless you're doing it,
Yeah,
out of your
they
home.
do them out of their home.
They do them out of their home.
Which
That is small.
that would be
business
different.
parks.
This is a primary use, not a home-based business.
Gotcha.
This is you're building a building just to do this.
Oh, okay, thank
Completely
you.
different.
Thank you, yeah.
Which, yeah, I don't think that
Thank
that's,
you for clarifying.
yeah,
that.
we
Thank
would
you.
want that.
All right,
Yeah.
so that's a no.
But that was a good question.
Thank you.
Okay, so no for that, yes for childcare, commercial animal manure management. Oh, that's not permitted.
Yeah, we don't want
Yeah, I
any,
don't know why that's in there if it's not permitted, so.
again, because then when people come in and we go, oh, you wanna do that? No,
Commercial chipping and mulching,
no,
okay. Convenience store,
no,
okay. Dance or nightclub,
no,
day labor hiring center,
We have those in every corner now.
yeah,
permitted with special exception.
no,
No? Okay.
because we can do that on Okeechobee Boulevard.
Delicatessen,
Now remember, because we're talking primary uses here, we're not talking as a part of a church or as a part of a something else.
Delicatessen.
Every small town needs a little deli.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the deli.
We talked about butcher shops, won't have a deli.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I think that would
Butcher
be
shop.
okay.
Butcher shop would be a good one too.
Yeah, we talked about that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Delicatessen, yes.
Steve, what do you think, are you good?
I would, yeah.
Now, a deli, you're not allowed to sell convenience items and you're not allowed to sell beer.
Okay.
So delicatessen, I mean, traditionally, that's the definition, because once you start a deli is food. You go in, you have sandwiches,
Yeah.
pre-cooked foods, you can pick up bread, but you can't do toilet paper, toothpaste, and things like that.
Yeah, that
No.
would still increase traffic. I mean, people would have to come in and get their food, that would increase traffic.
Yeah, but that would be something
Again,
like
It'd
you,
be more
you need
local traffic.
Yeah, because if you're
on your way home or something.
Okay, we don't have a definition of it, but we can.
You can make one.
yes,
Yeah.
we need to,
Like-
and
like-
be
like-
very
like what she
specific.
said, with only food for consumption items, no convenience.
No convenience items.
No beer, wine.
That'd bring a nice sense of community.
Jim,
to
I
it.
actually have a really good definition,
Okay,
if you want.
yes, I do.
I worked on this when I was with the city because we had, issues with that, because then all of a sudden, toilet paper pops up, and paper plates pop up, and this popped up, and the next thing you know, you got a convenience store.
7-Eleven.
Right.
Okay, yes for delicatessen, theater or auditorium?
No.
Can we say yes with, I don't wanna say a special exception, but yes with conditions, or something like that?
Yeah, we can always say that, then we have to create the conditions, but that's.
But that's what it would be,
fine.
you can't do this, and you can't do that.
Parking lots, it's a huge.
No, I'm back at the deli.
Oh, the deli.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, I see.
Yes, with special,
Yeah, the drive-in theater.
That's subject to Article 80, and then that's what the conditions.
yeah, and it would be very specific on things that you, okay. And then, yeah, our theater is gonna be on Southern,
Okay. Dry cleaning or laundry.
First aid with stuff.
yeah.
No.
Yeah. No?
I-
No, yeah, I think because the environmental end of that, if
Well,
somebody
they
doesn't
have those
really pay
new
attention
fire, they
to,
have those new ones now that they're drop-off service only, and they clean elsewhere.
Like Oxy,
So, I mean, if it were something like that, right next to the deli, I wouldn't mind it.
It's convenient.
But that's up to you guys, I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other for it.
Robin, what do you feel?
But you
Why?
could do that, you could say drop off only, no cleaning on premises. So they would have to take it somewhere else. I mean, that could be a convenience, but it's up to you guys. I, again, have no feeling one way or the other.
Okay, what's the?
My thought is no, but if you're gonna do a deli, why not a dry cleaning? You know, it's similar to, obviously a deli would be food, would be sandwiches, but it would be somewhat the same in terms of volume, in terms of the commercial use of this.
Yes and no. Again, if the goal is to try to provide services within our community, for our community, I've been going to Adams Family Dry Cleaning for the 26 years that I have been living in this community. So I have to drive out of the community to bring my
There
dry
every day.
cleaning.
They're the best.
So if I had a place where I could drop off my dry cleaning in the community, I probably would do that, just because it's in the community. But, again, I don't feel strongly about it one way or the other. I just am pointing out the obvious.
That would be a no for me.
Okay.
That would be a no for me.
Correct.
No.
No?
Falls on you.
You talked me into it.
Okay, no.
Okay, no, he said no.
Okay, employment agency,
No.
No.
okay. Essential services, we already said.
Yes,
before. Gasoline station.
No.
Okay, page 5, shooting range indoor.
No.
Yes.
No. There's a shooting range outdoor. All you have to do is step outside. There's shooting ranges everywhere in Noxahatchee Groves.
I got a tree.
I hate that.
Okay, we have
I would say no.
Okay,
That
well,
should go on Southern Boulevard.
2 no's,
All right, no.
3 no's.
Okay.
Hotel.
No.
Holiday Wayside Stand.
Yeah, we get them anyway.
Yeah, I would say, again, subject to Article 80.
Okay, yep. Laboratory for medical and dental research.
No. We have a hospital, we've got the whole medical stuff
So
down
it's
there.
a place for it.
Yeah,
Okay, offices, for example, business professional.
I would say no. I don't think we should have any offices on Okeechobee Boulevard.
We already got enough of them there in the paperwork.
Yeah, he's gonna do, what, I mean, how many square feet of office? Office should be, you know, again, my just personal opinion, should be Southern Boulevard.
Oh, okay, now my thought on that one is that if we're gonna go with the text that I'm recommending, where we have these two land use, two basic land use categories, the cottage industries and the individual small businesses, the ISBs. I think, you know, a real estate agent or a consulting engineer or an architect, you know, if he wants to build an office on Okeechobee, that would fit very well in that individual small business category that we're going to be creating.
So then we should create an individual small business category,
Yeah, something,
but I still don't think offices should go on Okeechobee. I just don't.
I don't agree. I think offices is, you know, there's low use, somebody comes in there, they park their car, they're on the phone, they leave, and it's not like it's.
They wouldn't be in business very long if that's,
yeah.
they need
and there's-
customers.
And there's
Oh, no,
contractors.
Yeah.
You know,
Our
architects.
contractors, a lot of businesses that like to locate out here,
Mhm.
I think would fall in that category.
Yeah, you know, what I see happening, because I always think worst case scenario sometimes, is you're gonna get someone who's gonna open up one of those little business parks. And, you know, you've seen them, they're like those little, they look like storage facilities,
Okay.
but they're not.
But that couldn't happen under this ISB category, we're talking about individual.
Well, what if they're
small
all
businesses.
individual small businesses?
This is for one individual business.
Per how many acres?
That was, under the current commercial zoning district, it can be on as small as 1 acre.
Okay, so financially, let's say you get a guy who buys 5 acres and he subdivides it, or he buys
That's-
concurrent 5 acres,
Yeah.
whatever. And there are 5 now little commercial pieces, and you've got essentially a commercial strip center or a business office park.
Yeah.
You know, a
Yeah,
5.
that's possible under the current zoning. I mean,
No, I
if
know.
we're creating our own category and our own criteria, maybe there's something that, under the individual small business, we have very low FAR, which promotes buying a larger property for your business, because you can't get that much space on an acre.
But is it feasibly economical for people to do that? Are they gonna come to Loxahatchee Groves and buy the property, which, you know, property values are going up, are they gonna buy that piece of property to do that with? Does that make financial sense for someone to do that?
I'm guessing it probably would, if I have an opportunity to, I have a business that I want to build.
Well, lawyers.
Build my office, yeah.
Well, chances,
The property values on Okeechobee out here versus trying to buy
but,
commercial property.
okay, but think about it. Think about it. Let's honestly think about this one, because this is important. That I think the only professional office, really, that you'll get out here at this stage of the game, maybe it'll change when Minto starts building. You're gonna get something connected to the medical field. Because if you're an attorney, you're gonna wanna be close to downtown. You know, you're 17 miles away, right? I mean, right? If you're an architect or a designer or a contractor maybe a surveyor might want to locate out here. Those kind of folks don't have the kind of money that they're gonna build, you know, buy a piece of property and build a brand new building from scratch for their own individual office, lock it up at night, and then go live somewhere else. Could happen,
Yeah, I'm not sure I
Could,
can agree with that.
but I just I don't know if it's
What
we're,
if you wanted like a little, like you said, like a contractor office or a real estate office, or, I think that you know, it's your own piece of property, it's one little building, you're not creating a massive traffic, and it would, you know, that would be pretty cool actually for business owners to have. And it would keep, you're not giving any convenience stores or anything like that, so those are high traffic items. These are low traffic items because your employee or you or as a business owner go to the office, you park your car until you leave at lunch and go to the delicatessen and come back. I memean,
After you picked up your dry cleaning.
yeah, or dropped off your dry cleaning at the not same day service like Adam's family, but.
Well, let me ask you this, Jim, what about, when I was, you know, one of my, financial planning thing is I had a virtual office, and actually, you know, had, space there, 2 or 3 times a week for 2 hours to meet clients. It was, you know where the Crexent office complex is? Remember
Yeah,
those
yes,
offices?
yeah.
Yeah.
There's one at,
Down
on
on
Lake
Lakewood Road,
Road,
yeah.
and, there's another one on in the Vista Parkway area. Not that anything that big, but it seems to me like that sort of thing where there's a reception area where you walk in, so I need to see Mr. Jones, and Mr. Jones will call him on the phone and go down to his office.
Yeah, I know that concept was really big at one time.
Still is.
yeah, I just don't think they advertise it as much, but I know a few people who do that.
I mean, that business complex is over by the Wellington swimming pool. I forget what the name of it is, but that's what that whole thing is. It's virtual offices and people, you know, they have
Yeah, shared coffee or shared secretary,
Mhm.
receptionist.
and there's a conference room, so if you want to, you know, meet clients and, you know, more than just one.
Yeah.
Well, you guys can
I think that's a good idea.
decide.
Well, let's call that, you know, the virtual office.
Well, that wouldn't be really fair for just a virtual office. I mean, let's say I'm a builder, which I am. It's my choice if I wanna buy a piece of property, how much I wanna spend if I wanna build a building. To have a little office to show my work that I've done or my clients. I mean, you're not gonna create a lot of traffic.
Well,
Right.
That's the ISP.
I mean, a small office is nice, and it's not a high traffic thing, and it'll fit in the motif of the community, and you know, it'll look good.
We are all entitled to our opinions. That's
Yes,
why
I
we're
agree.
here to talk about it.
Okay, well, let's move on.
Okay, so we're gonna put, like a question mark under offices, maybe I can come up with some.
No, I think it's an approved use, it's just that, you know, is that, I think you gotta put the parentheses there, this is the ISP.
Yeah, yes.
This essentially, that's the ISP.
Yeah, individual small business.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's exactly what I had in mind when I wrote the ISP was
Yeah.
this particular use.
If you do that, then it needs to be a separate use, Jim. It shouldn't be offices, business, professional, medical. It needs to be a separate use.
Just ISP.
Yes,
Mhm.
and it's only on Okeechobee Boulevard.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Good job, thank you guys.
Liquor store?
No.
No.
Outdoor events?
Sorry.
Yeah, I would keep it to that.
Retail plant or produce sales?
Yes.
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 Restaurant, fast food?
Here's my question. We've already approved the Day property with a use that has a restaurant and a drive-through. That's not going, whatever happens here is not gonna impact his approvals, correct?
As long as we don't end up with an FAR, a permitted FAR of over point.
No, I meant the uses that are,
No.
because he's got a building with a drive-through that's obviously going to be a fast food.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right, that's, he's, then I guess becomes legal non-conforming use on the border.
Yeah. All right,
So restaurant, fast food?
No.
No?
Yeah. Restaurant full service now is one we already have.
Okay. Restaurant takeout?
That might be nice, stop on your way home.
Why not, we have a deli?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
part of the deli.
Yeah.
Yeah, just put C deli.
no.
Retail services.
Like a retail shop, a dress shop or a,
Yeah.
Ross.
It's called Macy's.
Yeah, yeah, this is a,
Ross.
They're Ross, yeah.
the next two retail services, retail store are pretty all encompassing.
Yeah, I was thinking about
Yes.
So.
yes to no or yes to yes?
The answer is no, no, no.
no.
Yeah, because we need to, this is too broad.
Yeah.
We need to take it out and get more specific. Commercial recreation such as,
That's on Southern.
bedding cave, okay.
I would agree with Dennis, that's a southern use.
Is that clinic or hospital?
I would say yes.
Is Big Dog gonna end up on Okeechobee, they're gonna find Junior's Place down on Southern?
Well, as a matter of fact, I'm glad you mentioned that because they're having a special meeting here next Wednesday where they have notified all of the property owners within a couple thousand feet to come and talk about their proposal. So.
Didn't they already buy the property on?
I think their contract is, subject and contingent on the
Oh,
approvals.
contingent on approvals.
And I didn't know if you guys,
Do you
Her-
guys wanna hear something about Big Dog? Wait,
So that's next Wednesday?
It's a-
Yeah.
do you guys wanna see a short video?
we were at Outback Steakhouse, and you guys know where Big Dog is now, where they're located behind Lowe's?
Well, we already yes, we've already seen that and recommended
Yeah.
approval.
We've recommended
of the
approval
existing
for
site.
where they
Oh.
propose to go
Yeah.
Well,
on Okeechobee and D.
have you heard how loud it is if you're at Outback Steakhouse and where they're located behind Lowe's?
So I recorded the dogs barking.
So loud.
Well, this site has hours of operation, and they have to be inside,
Yeah.
I think by, it's either seven.
Seven.
Or 8.
I thought it was 7,
Yeah, that could be.
because they have an indoor facility.
But if you want to go to that workshop, it's here next Wednesday.
Okay.
What time is it?
I'm not sure, I'll send it to everybody,
Okay.
an email.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, because they got a little bit of flack from what the council has said already at the closing comments of the council meeting. And they're prepared to make some changes to the site plan, and they may even talk about those changes next Wednesday, but I'll let you know.
Is that the 25th?
Today, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And, they will have event claims in it, since they've met all of the conditional use criteria for that.
Mhm.
I have no problems with veterinary clinics, I mean,
Mhm.
because we got that big horse clinic on that road, you know.
Okay, so that's a yes.
Yeah.
Warehouse self-storage. No.
No,
Wireless communications, I guess.
we already said yes to that.
Whatever we said before.
Mhm.
Adult daycare.
I say yes.
Yeah.
I would say yes too.
I'm gonna need someplace to go.
Yeah, especially
Dreams
those
of-
folks,
I'll-
yeah, like me getting up there in age.
Schools, public or private? I think we probably already approved that, or said yes in the previous one.
Yeah.
Okay. Gym or fitness center?
So,
Okay. 6, cemetery. Oh, that's not permitted, so.
yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, this is the institutional and public facilities zoning district. Cemetery, no.
No.
Congregate living facility, these would be the larger facilities than the 6 beds under type 1.
Again, the state
This is
law,
not a,
yeah,
assisted living?
Probably so, yeah. I mean, there probably are other congregate living things than adult living facilities that might fit under this definition. I know in the county, they have a whole bunch such as the
sober houses and halfway
Yeah.
houses and all of that. So I know that they're passing some legislation right now trying to tighten up the restrictions
Right.
on a state level on how these things are monitored.
Yeah.
So,
Most of the state regulations, I think, are for the real little ones that can go in residential neighborhoods.
Yeah.
well,
That's what they will not, at least. what I've
yeah,
seen.
well, the one, that and the stuff where it's connected with where you're living here and you're receiving treatment there. They didn't used to have any regulation on that. Now they're trying to create regulation for that.
Okay, well, these are, this congregate living facility would be probably the larger
What's that?
facility. Southern, 70 plus beds.
Well, that's what's going into, part of what's at
Yeah.
the solar sports.
Right, okay, so no?
No.
Okay. Churches, places of worship.
I think we have enough.
Well, we don't want to create a bunch of legal nonconformity, so,
Yeah. Plus, we have separation
Yeah.
criteria in the code now, so, most of them are on the eastern half of the corridor, and there's 1,000-foot separation criteria, so that extends fairly far west, so.
Okay.
So I think, just to be safe, we should allow those.
Yeah.
Daycare, preschool.
We say yes.
So yes to congregate living, yes to church, and,
No to congregate living, yes to churches, yes to daycare.
okay, thank you, sir.
Essential services, yes. Government facilities and services.
Would that be a bad thing on Okeechobee?
A government facility?
Yeah, I think it'd be cool.
Like what? A prison?
Like a fire station.
Like a fire station?
Again,
Yeah.
they really can go wherever they want, so,
And it's community service.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think. Okay, so that's a yes. Holiday Wayside Stand?
Yeah.
I think we said.
We
yes
already
before.
said yes, yeah.
Outdoor events, yes. Private service club or lodge?
We already got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
so.
Does it include like a swingers club and stuff?
That could fall under the definition.
That takes you out to the nudist colony.
So,
We said no to adult entertainment.
Okay.
so private service club, yes. Parks and outdoor events.
Well, we had permitted with special exception. I think that if we are going to permit that that's how it should stay.
Yeah,
I think one is more of a, what was the one that was the bar over on F Road, just north of,
The Elks Club.
that was the Elks Club, yeah. It's really not a great idea to have a bar in a little community.
yeah.
Marvin Dudash loved it.
Hmm?
Marvin Dudash loved it.
That was,
Oh, yeah.
that was actually a social,
I was gonna
Place.
say, I went there once or
Yeah.
twice and it was kind of cool,
yeah.
place to,
There
I
is
don't even know
no,
what it is now.
where is the social event facility for Loxahatchee Groves? You know, you talked about community.
we just talked about that earlier. That's
You're right.
exactly what we talked about, that there isn't one.
There isn't one.
Mhm.
You're correct.
Okay, so, but we have a yes for that. Public parks
Yeah.
and outdoor events.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. School, public and private,
Yeah.
we already said yes to that. Wireless communication, yes. Accessory uses, cemetery.
No.
Still no, unless, what if you wanted to do a pet cemetery?
Not in Los Angeles.
That might be phase 3. I shouldn't say that because they're having a hard enough time. Okay, Dave Lieber Fire Center.
No.
Okay, we said that.
Well,
We have already,
What did we say before?
That already exists, you dig a hole and put it in your yard, right?
Oh, okay, we said no
the day
before.
labor hire
but that was as a primary use, you're right, this is as an accessory
Well, that would
use.
be like with a church,
Yeah.
if the church wanted to do that.
Okay. Childcare as an accessory,
Yeah.
probably yes. Swimming pool, I'm not even sure why that's in there.
Because
Maybe
maybe
this
you
is
want,
some public-
maybe you want a
public
public
swimming.
pool
Yeah, all
with
right.
diving boards and lessons for kids or something.
Okay, all right. So, yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry,
Although they're not gonna have a boys and girls club to do
Yeah.
that.
sorry I came late, but I need to go back one page to the other uses and see, did y'all even talk about like a car wash?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did? Okay.
Mhm.
We talked about it.
They said no.
But
They said no to a car wash?
Yeah,
So,
To put it on Southern.
they said to put it on Southern, not Okeechobee.
Now, again, we're just making recommendations, everybody, this is not in
Not
stone.
binding. It's not binding.
Yeah, and it's like 3 to 1 gets it.
Everybody knows.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna use what the LPA comes up with as a way of drafting a proposal
Right,
to the council. And then we'll hold a workshop there and
yeah.
they can add some, they can listen to what you have to say.
And we've had
take
good
some out, add some.
participation, wouldn't you say?
We've tried to get
Yeah,
some
you
good
guys are
feedback, you
really-
guys have
yeah,
been
really
doing
nice.
great.
Okay, good,
It's a good team to work with so far.
good.
Okay, so then the last one is on the page 7, that's Parks and Recreation. Gun or archery range?
We all know how I feel about that. No, I don't think there should be one on Okeechobee Boulevard.
Why not at least archery?
Let me see, we had,
I've never seen an archery range, just archery. I've never seen one just by itself. Have you seen one?
No, this is something different for kids to take, bow and arrow lessons or something. We're a
At
community
Boys and Girls
that.
Club on Southern Boulevard.
There you go.
There is an archery place actually over on Belvedere, just right over in that area.
I've never seen it.
Yeah.
Just archery or gun too?
That's an art.
I think it's just archery.
That would be a good one. You can't really do too much with a bow and
okay,
arrow.
I'm not really clear on what this one is, Jim. It's associated with Parks and
Rec.
Parks and Rec?
Yeah, so I don't even know that we should be talking about this.
Yeah, this is like,
oh, okay, so,
I mean, because we definitely would want walking and biking trails, we talked about the horse trails. Yeah, I mean, this is,
Those are all good ones.
have outdoor events there, boat ramps, where they get a boat ramp into the D Road Canal.
well then, with the exception of the first two, well, maybe the first three, it looks like the rest of them almost would be accessory uses.
yeah, so I don't even know that this is sort of site planning stuff.
Right. Okay.
So yes to some of them or
Yeah, that's what we're thinking.
to which ones?
All of them with exception of the first two, right?
Can you make an exception for just archery? That would be great for kids in a community.
I think again, and it's just my own opinion,
Without the gun,
Yeah,
I could
that's
see that without the
something.
gun.
very similar to an arcade, if it were part of a secondary use, wasn't, who's really gonna come and open up an archery building? I've never.
Somebody that wants to help kids.
Maybe.
It's all about the money.
She wants to speak.
Just, out at besides the one that's on Belvedere Road, and that's not a building, I don't
No.
know. It's a, what do they call them? Runs or something, and the targets are down at the end, it's an outdoor, instead of a shooting range, it's an archery range, but it's outdoors.
Right.
There's not a building there, so, but the only place that I've ever been able to go and shoot a bow and arrow, not shoot an arrow, is in the Corbett area, the youth camp. And they have the hunter education weekends or whatever, but, kids do benefit from learning things like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
I agree.
Archery's not
Yeah.
like a gun, and if you have the right training and And I think that if you remove the gun part, you can,
It's an Olympic sport, for goodness
Mhm.
sakes.
yeah, I think archery would be good for a community like ours that's raising kids to, learn safeties
I
and.
don't, you know, it's up to you guys, I don't feel, yeah.
Well, this is an accessory use to a park. I mean,
Right,
If somebody
that's-
wants to go to.
Under outdoor, you could probably do it, right?
And say that you wanna, have an archery clinic,
Right.
you know, you really can't stop, because right now we
Well, all
don't.
can't
these are
stop.
accessory
Okay,
uses,
good.
you see, this-
Well, this is all pertaining to parks and recreation. So if someone wanted to do an archery range as a principal use in a park and recreation land use or zoning category, then it's permitted with, the requirements of Article 80.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is if Okeechobee Boulevard, I still think that's the kind of stuff we should be focusing on trying to attract near the park area, because that is one of the prettiest, most underutilized parks in this community. We have no community center, really, so wherever that's supposed to be happening, this should be happening with it. I agree it should be happening, but I don't know where. Yeah. So,
Okay, yeah, so all those, I guess, we're just gonna scratch out the gun.
Okay, so we want to,
So scratch out the gun and archery is okay?
I would say.
as,
Yeah.
as a principal use or an accessory?
It's accessory.
Okay, so all of these would be accessory uses that were, I guess we're saying, to boat ramp, fishing, pier, and dock.
We really have no place for that.
Yeah,
It could be left, because there's nothing
Right.
to put that.
botanical garden is okay, walking to essential service, nature trail,
Mhm.
lake or pond.
I do.
Right? I don't even think we need to put that in there myself.
no, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I think
Go there.
botanical garden though, you might
Yeah.
wanna put in there, and maybe even as a primary use, if someone wanted to do,
Like that. Oh, you want to go?
yeah,
All
do
right,
you think?
so, okay, we're gonna put botanical garden as a principal use.
Right.
And the balance is accessory.
Anything that's good.
Okay. That gets us to the zoning districts now, page 8.
Okay.
Is the survey that we already did.
I don't know, personally, I think the survey is fine, although there is a little contradiction, maybe in a couple of the
Yeah,
things.
we've got barber shop now, bank is now, no, drive-through.
Right,
Okay.
It's kind of addressed.
but we added butcher shop.
Scratches it all.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
we have delis.
can we keep it for this conversation? Thank you.
But a butcher shop, I think when we talked about, like if you go and kill a deer and you wanna take it somewhere, you wouldn't necessarily take it to a deli, but if you had a butcher shop that knew how to cut it up and do whatever it is they do.
There is a person that does that out here,
Okay,
Butcher shop would be good.
but he doesn't have a shop, and he does do that.
but I'm saying if you wanted to do a shop, because probably what he's doing right now, we don't have a category for.
Yeah, butcher shop would be a good use for Okeechobee.
And somebody that tans stuff and
No,
knocks
you can't
stuff.
tan, the tanning hides requires really terrible chemicals.
All right, what are we doing here, Jim?
Well, I guess
You have to-
I'll take everything we've done plus
We've been there,
what
done that.
we've done in the past. And then
So you guys are saying you would approve a butcher shop?
Yeah.
Okay.
put them together in something like this now. On pages 9, we had sent this out before, and Dennis has submitted comments on pages 9 as well. I don't know if you want to.
No.
No, I don't think we need to do that.
And
Yeah.
then Veronica's, we're on pages 13 to 18, she had some handwritten questions on her sheet, which I probably can try to answer some of them. If you look at page 13, she has a question on top. how is the daycare allowed and how are churches allowed? And the answer to that is that they were all previously approved by Palm Beach County prior to our ULDC.
Mhm.
And they were permitted uses in the county's AR district at the time. And then she also asked what the difference between agriculture and bona fide agriculture is. Agriculture is defined by the Florida statutes as doing one of list of whole different agricultural activities. In order to become bona fide ag, you have to be a agricultural business and get a agricultural use classification by the Palm Beach County Prosecutor's. So you can be doing agriculture but not be bona fide agriculture. I guess that's the difference. I think the property owners calls those gardens as opposed to bona fide ag.
Which part of Greenbelt is what they used to classify as Greenbelt?
Agriculture.
Bona fide
Then
ag?
you got bona fide, yeah.
Yes, you're right.
It's been a while, it was a long
Yeah.
time.
So that's the difference. If you're doing agriculture, but you're not bona fide agriculture, I believe that you're subject to the local land development regulations. If you're bona fide ag, then you're exempt.
Mhm.
Tax deed.
Mhm.
Yes.
She had concerts, auto racing, mud racing.
Yeah, just examples of outdoor events. Now, we have a definition of outdoor events in our code,
Drum circle.
which could technically include all of these things these nasty things that she has in there, but, you want me to read that definition?
No.
And then, yeah, there are some of her notes I can't read. A lot of her comments are related to the concept of the activity center, which I've taken out of our
Mhm.
land, comp plan amendments.
Fast forward to that.
Okay, and then Grace, you have yours, your submitted on page 19 through 21. And I think that pretty much jives with
Mhm.
Yep.
what you mentioned tonight. Okay. And then, moving on to page 22, one of our big assignments, as directed by the council, is to come up with recommended floor area ratios along the corridor. And I did a survey of all of the properties along the corridor, and I put them into several categories: nurseries, residential, religious institutions, institutional uses, and commercial properties. And I calculated floor area ratios for the properties within each of those categories. And I'll go through the basic findings. For wholesale nursery, there was a total of 30 properties. And the range of FARs for buildings on wholesale nurseries was from 0 to 0.0344. For residential properties, a total of 12, and the FARs ranged from 0.0067 to 0.0882.
Is that like a dead ship?
Mm.
No, it was a small house on a big, on a big parcel. And the 0.0882s were primarily on those small lots on the north side. Let's see where it is.
That's like my neighborhood.
Right here.
Mhm.
Right there, between
The
B,
B
C.
and C,
Mhm.
yeah. So those had essentially relatively small homes, I guess, between 2,000 and 3,000 square feet, but on lots as small as 3/4 of an acre. Religious institutions ranged from 0.01 to 0.08. And institutional FARs from 0.02 to 0.05. Commercial, we just had one at that point, and that was the Red Barn, and that's 0.16. And then we also had 17 vacant parcels. And part of the reason that I did this inventory is because we're very likely going to be coming up with a floor area ratio less than is currently allowed. And I wanted to make sure that we had adequate justification for doing that. Consistency with the properties along the corridor as opposed to randomly choosing a number out of the air and then being subject to penalties, lawsuits, et cetera, later.
Well, and it's good that we're creating a new land use category as
Yeah,
well,
right.
because then that further supports what it is that we're doing.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to page 24, we originally had staff had prepared a recommended text amendment to the land use element. We went through it and the local planning agency had several issues with it, a bunch of comments, a bunch of recommendations, and I tried to take the discussions that we've had over the last couple of months and incorporate them into a new draft. And I don't want to rush us into coming up with language, but I know the council is going to be looking for something probably by their first meeting in May. So,
Yeah, we plan on that.
yeah.
What's the land use category again on Okeechobee right now?
Rural residential 5.
Okay, so rural residential 5.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's right. I was thinking that if we came up with a land use category, language, something similar to that.
Yeah.
But having Okeechobee RR5 or something.
Yes.
So that you can look at the category and know that it's
Specific.
specifically.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Jim, because then you're keeping the zoning intact, but calling out Okeechobee Boulevard as a specifically different land use that's
Right.
going to allow some commercial uses that aren't allowed in the rest of, lots,
Yeah.
the area.
Right.
And then creating a FAR, which will be specific to this land use category. That's a very good idea. I don't know what you guys think, but I think that's a really good idea.
Well, I guess what we've been shooting on at all along, I think that the various uses that you have, is come up with A, B, C, D, E, and F, and that's going to help. F is nothing, because that's, so we have in those then subcategories.
Yeah.
So the maximum that a church could go would be 0.074. And just on the maximums, and then like the ISD, we're going to keep that at 0.05. Just sort of keep it between those two numbers.
Yeah, and then the cottage industries would be even
I'm
less.
not even sure we need the cottage industries.
Well-
I don't, because when you look at the internet and you get the definitions on it, it's all over the board.
I agree with you.
Well, okay, well, what I want to do is, I'd like to keep the term cottage industry, but I would like that to include only or home occupations and residential enterprises. And
That's fair.
Then I think they should be called home occupation and residential enterprise, only because cottage industry is a term. That is a, you know, there's a state statute that is termed cottage industries. And we don't wanna confuse people. And there's actual, like, state regulations that pertain to cottage industries. And I agree with you, we need to be more flexible with our home occupation. There's things in our home occupation that people should be allowed to do that they're not allowed to do, and we need to clean that up.
Yeah, but what I was trying to do with cottage industry was just come up with one term that encompassed home occupations and residential enterprises. I can get rid of the term cottage industry and specifically use home occupations and residential enterprise.
We already had that. I thought
Yeah,
we,
yeah.
how
Yeah,
did
we do.
residential enterprise get back? I thought we were,
No, I was the guy that essentially ripped it up.
Well, the one that,
Because there's a lot of people out here who, you know, who run a small business with on a computer, you know. and-
that's home occupation.
No, it's because it's bigger than that. They have, you know, an employee who comes in and works, and we had a company that we ran out of our home.
Yeah.
yeah, well, when we had the big discussion on it, my proposal is to allow the home occupation and residential enterprise to have employees and customers.
Yeah, but we had that, yeah, whole discussion about
Yeah,
that.
just on Okeechobee, forget it.
Yeah, just on Okeechobee is what I'm saying. We had the discussion and we decided not to allow it throughout town. But I think that the residential units that are currently on Okeechobee, particularly the present units, need some additional opportunities.
Yes.
And if they can have a little business where they have a couple of employees and have some customers come, that gives them something real, in my mind, real additional opportunities over and above what they have.
So then what are they? Are they residential or are they commercial?
The residential enterprise and home occupation is a residential use. And these are oriented primarily to the, I guess, 12 homes that are already on Okeechobee. Give them some other opportunity other than to have to live on Okeechobee, where a lot of them don't want to be anymore. This will give them an opportunity, more opportunities to sell their place because somebody can come in and buy it.
So what
and
you're
have a
essentially
business there.
saying, that they now become live work. So their properties will now become a mixed use. So they can do live work.
Well, you're gonna surround them by
Hold on, just
commercial
hold on one
anyways.
second,
yeah.
please. Hang on just one
Well,
second.
You can do that anywhere in town now, except that you can't have.
No, you can't do that
And
anywhere in
customers.
town. Like, what you're saying is something completely different, and I just wanna make sure that I understand what you're talking about. So if I live on Okeechobee Boulevard and I sell my home, I can list it as a mixed-use property. Because I can live here and I can also work here. Because essentially, that's what you're saying, because and we've had this discussion before. Once you start allowing people to come into your home as customers, the use of your building, the occupancy used by the county, the requirement that the county has for occupancy changes. You have to have ADA requirements, the structure of the building needs to be sprinkled, all of that stuff
Okay.
has to be taken into consideration. I don't think everybody knows that. So when you're saying, oh yeah, we're just gonna open up this little business and I'm gonna have 2 employees and now I'm gonna have people come in off the street to come into my building, who is going to monitor that? Who's gonna monitor that? Hang on just one second. We don't have the capability to do that because the way our code enforcement is set up, someone has to, call and be the tattletale. you know, I'm telling on so-and-so because he's running a business. I think this needs to be, again, and we had this conversation, I don't know how many
Yeah.
months ago,
I remember the conversation.
really thought out, because people are going to enter into something without realizing that there's a whole lot more due diligence to doing what you're suggesting than simply hanging up a sign and saying, open for business. Number one. Number two, how do you prevent that building from actually becoming all commercial? How do you know that that person is actually gonna live there? I mean, I know we say you have to have homestead exemption, but, you know, you file for your homestead, but that doesn't mean that that building is not now going to entirely, at some point in time.
And you have to have get a business tax receipt every year, and we have attached conditions, the town's already attached conditions to our zoning sign off on business tax receipts.
So they gotta meet all those requirements in
So
order
what
to get it.
do those requirements include that a building inspector has certified that your building meets the commercial requirements?
They haven't at this point, but there's no reason why they can't.
But that's what I'm saying, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm saying if this is something that the town wants to move forward to do, you need to make sure that what you're presenting to the community is the total package. There's an investment that needs to be made into your property to bring it up to code in order to do that. Separate entrance has to be provided, like I said, handicap accessibility, you're gonna have to have parking on your property, there has to be lighting, proper signage, all of that stuff.
Well, I would say that would apply to certain businesses, not,
It wouldn't apply to all businesses.
Yeah, not a home-based
I don't believe
business.
that it applies to the lady that has a piano in her den.
But that should be home occupation. That shouldn't be
But that's a
enterprise.
customer,
Jim, all
That's a
I'm
customer.
saying is if you do research.
and they can't do that now.
But that's what I said earlier, that needs to be fixed. You could do a real estate office out of your home under home occupation in most any city in this county.
Right.
As long as you put the real estate sign outside whatever office in your home, and you can have not more than one customer come to your home at a time. You can do music lessons, you can teach, you can be a seamstress and teach at your home. Our code doesn't allow you to do those things.
Right.
That should be changed.
Well, we tried to change that, and that didn't fly.
Well, but that's not home, but I agree with you, and again, some of the things that happen in this community aren't always correct, but we get there eventually. But I don't see, you're swinging from one end of the pendulum to the other. The enterprise business is completely different from home occupation.
Yeah.
The piano teacher, that should be under home occupation.
Yes.
That person should be allowed to do that.
Right.
The enterprise where you're running a business, whatever, say it's a construction company, or you're a surveyor, or you're whatever it is, and it's you, 2 employees, and now you have customers coming, maybe it's only 2 or 3 times a week, but still, you now have a commercial business in your residential home, and the county does not allow that.
No, it's not, no, residential enterprise is in a separate structure.
Separate structure.
Okay, so splitting hairs, but whatever, it's on your residential property, if it's in a separate structure, there you now have a structure that now has to be a commercial structure. So you can't take your shed and now convert it into, this thing. It has to be built so that it meets.
Unless your shed is compliant to the business that you're doing.
Right, so if your
Yeah.
shed,
Right.
has all of
handicap
the,
bathroom and all that.
has all of the things it needs, but, again.
So it would be the person that has the cottage industry to be
I
compliant.
mean, that's another
It's-
option.
The
But
person
it's
that owns
the
the
town's
company.
responsibility to make sure that that building is compliant. We're not just gonna say,
Well,
yep,
they
you
can't
should
Really,
do
the
this.
business owner's responsibility, or they get
It is
fined.
the town's responsibility to make sure that if we're going to allow this to happen, that they are compliant. Just like it's the town's responsibility to make sure when you do a home occupation, that you have everything that you say that you have. And if we're not doing that, then we're fools.
And this time, they don't have the resources to do something like that.
Well, I mean,
Well, then they can't open a business if they don't have the resources, sir.
No, he said this town doesn't have the
Oh.
resources.
To enforce it.
Yeah, but I mean,
Well, we have-
you should be able to do that in a separate building. That should be
We have a
allowed.
building permit process that
that the town has to sign off on it. Palm Beach County administers the building permits. Before the county will issue a building permit, it comes to us. We have to stamp it to say that it meets our local regulations.
Yeah.
We have a business tax receipt process.
I understand, and I guess what I'm saying is that, assuming that the first hurdle is met and it's approved, the town does not have the resource to continuously monitor to see that the same intention is continuous. It hasn't ballooned into 20 people coming in.
Well, I mean.
You have to get a fire inspection every year, and you have to pass
So
code.
we have business tax receipts every year that have to be renewed. When a business tax receipt comes in, we have started in certain instances of making them sign an affidavit that's saying that here's certain things we're gonna do and certain things we're not gonna do.
Okay.
Okay, so if they don't do that, if they do the things that we say that they can't do, we have the opportunity to do code enforcement.
I think it needs to be very well put together. So, because if the person is coming, they're applying to, build a commercial building, a commercially produced building on a residential piece of property that now is going to, because you're gonna have parking associated with that, correct? I mean, are we gonna make those requirements?
Sure. Depending upon the use. Depending upon what the business is. I mean,
And none of these businesses are gonna be set up.
No, I understand that, but I think that there's a cross here between this residential enterprise and home occupation. The person doing piano lessons should not be required to go through this. The person who's running some kind of office use or, whatever that is.
What if you had a cabinet shop
I
and
don't,
you wanted
cabinet shop,
two employees to build cabinets?
Internet sales should be a home occupation. I'm sorry. Internet sales should be home occupation. If you're manufacturing something to sell, that is completely different. That is not home occupation.
You don't need a parking lot to have a cabinet shop and a couple of
But
guys
a
to come
cabinet
build
shop,
this.
again, a whole nother set of, that's
Yeah,
different.
And we have requirements for the home occupation that it can only be a very small percentage of your house.
Well, it's usually 20% of the total square footage, blah, blah, blah,
It's even
whatever.
less than that, but
Let me get
it's
a
still.
on it. You had a point.
Oh, I was just gonna say, if it's an approved commercial use that y'all have approved of, and it's gonna be located on Okeechobee Boulevard, they're gonna have to build it anyway, and it's gonna have to be built to code with, if it's the butcher shop,
But that's
But
exactly my
that's a-
point.
that's a
It's gonna
commercial
be-
use, though.
But you could not do that as part of this.
Yeah.
You could not do that as a home enterprise. Home enterprise
Yeah, we
is
said-
is a very,
But you can't
sort of structured
live-
thing, like the cabinet shop idea.
oh, well,
Well,
on B Road, Mr. Poe used to be our butcher that when we killed a cow, we'd haul it over to Mr. Poe and he would cut it up.
Yeah.
okay, the
So-
difference between what we're
Except
talking
die.
about is businesses that you can do if you have a commercial zoning designation on your property. And then residential enterprises and home occupations you can do in a residential zoning district. You don't have to have the commercial.
And
Wouldn't
now you're
this
taking-
help
you're
somebody
talking about
like-
12 properties.
Say, somebody like myself that has property that fronts Okeechobee, if I wanted to live in my house and build a separate building and have a real estate office, isn't this exactly what I would fall into? Or if I wanted
Yes,
to have a butcher
if
shop for
you
my
would-
son to run?
Yeah, that would be,
This
that would
is
be a
exactly
Real
residential,
estate
what I would
office,
call it.
yes.
That
Butcher
would be-
shop, no.
that would be a residential enterprise.
Real estate
If I wanted
office,
to build a separate building.
Yes.
real estate office, yes. Butcher shop, no.
Well, we haven't
If
put
they're
any.
both approved.
That's the question.
any
We don't have the
use-
answer to that
Any
yet.
any use limits on it. I would say that you could do a residential enterprise consisting of a unit plus a separate building now, as long as you didn't have employees or customers.
Oh, I don't have an issue with a separate building. My concern is, again, are we either If you wanna do commercial, straight up commercial, not real estate, but build a butcher shop, then you're a commercial business on a commercial piece of property. Not both, you know, you're one, or then be mixed use, so,
Yeah.
you know, cause
It has to
some.
be mixed, because you're gonna
Here's
live
the
there,
thing.
you're not gonna give up your
Exactly, it would
home.
have to be.
You
mixed.
may not, in best case scenario, that doesn't mean I'm not, I mean, people are, have
Well, that's
said
gonna
in this
give you the
room that they're
opportunity.
interested in, you know, I wanna just get the highest and best amount of money for my property so I can sell it and move on. Not
You have
everybody
only
wants to
12
do that.
properties you're talking about.
But not
So how can you
everybody-
make the whole strip commercial and then exclude those 12
No, you
properties that have
wouldn't.
commercial
You
around
would
it?
not, you would not, that's what I'm saying, you would not. What I'm suggesting is, you're either one or the other. If you wanna be commercial, then be commercial. So if you want to have a butcher shop, then have a butcher shop. But to be, you're collecting taxes and paying taxes on a residential piece of property and enjoying the benefits of a commercial piece of property. So which are you?
But you wouldn't be paying residential taxes
You'd be
if
paying
you had a
commercial.
commercial business.
Yeah, you'd be
Exactly.
paying commercial tax on that portion.
you'd
Let's
be-
say you
yeah,
had
that's what
15
live on your
acres
property.
Answer that question.
and you're cut out an acre or 2
No, hold
acres.
on.
Wait,
No, no,
let
no.
him-
Mm-mm.
Ask me again, I was thinking.
You're paying the same, because your taxes, the property is being assessed on the RR5. So that's what I'm saying,
As a home.
as a home.
But I have to disagree with you, Grace, and my property would be the one that I'm talking about, and from experience, what, not the commercial, because we don't have a commercial thing there, but, it was residential, and it always has been residential, okay, for 50 years, 51 years, whatever. And when my mother passed, that was when the county decided to charge us to the highest and best use, and because we're on Okeechobee Boulevard, they based it on what, at that very same year is when Valley Crest bought Ken and Jeannie Frank's house and turned it into a commercial venture. And so our property, instead of being, you know, based on what our taxes were back then, they skyrocketed, they tripled.
Plus you probably lost the homestead exemption on top of that.
Yes, when she died, and then we had to get it back
Right.
the following year. But at that point, we were taxed on, you know,
Well,
It had
highest and best is
skyrocketed.
no longer the
Right.
case, is it?
No. It shouldn't be.
It
They
shouldn't
should not be doing
it's
that.
whenever you lose
I don't know, I
homestead
just, I
exemption,
feel,
they
I
come
know, yeah,
do it,
we've,
whatever.
They
yeah.
go to the new plant's house.
Yeah, we've, you know, we've had this conversation before, the horse is dead, and I'm sorry for
Well,
bringing
no.
it back up
I put
again.
it to 78.
Yeah, it's not
not
78 anymore, I think it changed itself.
It's on
Well-
78.
Yeah.
The way it's written now is that
Yeah,
the home occupation residential enterprise with the ability to
Right,
have employees and customers only applies to those existing properties that have a house on it now.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go in, build a house in the future and then do that. You would have to become commercial in order to have a business on it in the future. This is giving an opportunity to those 12 existing homeowners on Okeechobee.
I hear you.
Okay.
I just think that, we need to be very careful.
Okay.
Oh, Grace, this is just an aside. When we talked the last time, and you said, I know you want to have it turn commercial so you can sell and get out of Waxahachie. No, I will be moving around the corner on Sea Road. That's all.
Okay.
Okay, just
Well,
let
when you
you
said
know.
you wanted, so you can get out of there, I assume.
Well, get
you
off of
meant out
Okeechobee
here.
Boulevard. No,
Okay.
not out of Waxahachie, but off of Okeechobee Boulevard.
the only thing that saves us on ours is we have the entrance on Bryan. Our property goes through.
Oh, okay.
So we go in and out Bryan. When we try to go out Okeechobee, it's like, that's
Yeah,
tough.
it's nuts.
Yeah, and
When
if
I
you go
left
to
the
turn
meeting-
in, you get rear-ended.
Yeah.
I live, you know, I go down D, so I know it's
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Okay, What's next, Jim?
Okay, well,
Gonna wordsmith tonight, or just go over?
well, yeah, why don't I just go over some major points that I want, that I want you to think about. And we can get into the details of the text amendments, changes, try to come up with a consensus at our next couple of meetings. What I did was I took out activity center. And I just left in the categories that really pertain to small businesses. And then,
You're on page 25 or 28?
well, back to 24. The only point that I want to make there is on policy 1.17.1D. You know, we had talked about, we established this condition on the Day property that they had to dedicate a horse trail easement on the north side of the property, which essentially is the horse trail easement to nowhere, right now.
And Big Dog Ranch too.
Yeah, Big Dog Ranch, so I want to determine whether or not we want to have an equestrian trail policy in here at all. And if we do, what should the word be? So I'd like you to think about that. Do we want to try to promote equestrian trails on both sides of Okeechobee, border to border in the town, on the north side or on the south side? And if we do we want to do that through easements, or do we want eventually the town to take responsibility to purchase rights of way, or how do we want to address that? And I'm not suggesting any specific way.
I think it should be an easement, similar to the way that folks provide easements for sidewalks in areas where there's not enough right of way to accommodate. And if it's as simple as being mulch, which I know we talked about with the Trailways folks, I know they would appreciate it if it were in here, because it'll legitimize everything that they're doing. I mean, they're working so hard to try to get, this to happen, and relying on us to get the folks who come in with these projects to give it to them.
Yeah,
So,
And who's going to maintain it?
Again,
Who's responsible for the liability if
but
somebody falls
we
off the
talked
horse?
about that. I thought
Yeah,
there was.
it's,
Well-
riding a horse is one of the most dangerous things you can do. Go at your own risk.
Right. Yeah.
Florida equine law protects you, and you need equestrian trails, because if you're gonna go from one end to the other, you have to have connecting to get to them, you have to have trails.
DOT have to respect anything we do, like we have horse crossing anywhere in Okeechobee, do they have to respect that? Is that something we use as a tool to deal with providing
Liability.
Okeechobee, calming it?
Well, I think anything that we have in there that we can use to negotiate with the county to help pay for improvements or to gain policy maintenance, things like that.
She has a comment, Jim, she has a comment.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's
I
okay.
should probably
No,
say-
that's all right. This is sort of a discussion as opposed to.
For the horse trails?
Yeah.
And everything, there are, like on F Road, on this side of the canal, I guess the Los Angeles Groves Water Control District, they have the utility road,
Mhm.
whatever, and that would keep the horse away from the vehicles, which are on the other
Mhm.
part. And they go along every other road in Waxahachie, and they go from north to south.
Mhm.
Okay. What I was talking about as far as getting across Okeechobee Boulevard, there is a elevated cross crossing across I-75 up by Ocala, and it is where they actually ride the horses, and they go up and over I-75, and it's elevated to start with, and also it has greenery planted on either side, so that the horses aren't seeing, out of the corner of their, out of their eyes, seeing the stuff, the distractions, just to frighten them.
Spook 'em, yeah.
Yeah, and when we talked before about D Road and having the light put there at D Road, that would, and because there's gonna have to be some infrastructure in order to accommodate having a light at D Road, at that time, maybe there could be, I think there's money available from the state or something, as far as providing sidewalks for other places. Why not try to get the funding to do an elevated crossing? Because D Road has one of those, that runs on the other side of the canal. And then that way, there would be a way to go from North Road to Southern Boulevard, to the park up there, and to the place that's on the corner, the natural area, that's Royal Palm Beach natural area, Pines, whatever, which is a place to ride. And I don't know, and even on Collecting Canal, if there's a way to get across Collecting Canal.
That's gonna be done at C Road, the owner of that property, so the Solar Sports who would put in a crossing.
Okay, at C Road there?
See,
Well,
yeah.
and there also would be a way to get across D Road, to get on the other side, because there also is a nice, I just drove down it the other day and actually had to go really slow so a lady with a horse could get by. But, there's a way to go down that way, to ride your horse and walk your horse or whatever. But there are other ways to do it. I don't think anybody wants to ride along Okeechobee Boulevard.
I am not a horse person, so if I were on a horse, the last place I'd be was on Okeechobee Boulevard, but there are folks in this community who want it.
But there are
So-
other ways to get, Gruber Lane goes from
I-
C to D, whatever, what I'm
Mhm.
saying, there's ways to get from one side of Loxahatchee to the other without going down Okeechobee
Well,
Boulevard.
and there is that one guy with the ponies that has the little chariot,
Yeah.
he goes, 4 ponies, he's just cooking along the
Yeah.
bike path. on
Well,
Okeechobee.
the other thing though to look at is, and someone mentioned it, I don't know, sort of was going in that direction. It might make it better for us in the design of Okeechobee Boulevard if there was a dedicated horse trail in our policy, not necessarily out there yet, because that would help us when we sit down with the county. To create a road that might be slower and better designed.
I think that's really
So if we say,
the key here is.
this,
it has
the
to
goal
be-
of this is, you have to play the trickery, it's a game,
Yeah,
it's
well,
all a game.
But I
and
think slower is a pipe dream, I
I,
swear.
you know
I
what,
think
Those roads
that
narrow
was
for
lost.
it'll be slower.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
God.
think,
See-
Jim, if we just put in there, is that incorporate into the design of Okeechobee, adding the horse trails on either the north or south.
yeah,
side,
and you
or
don't
north-
have to say
north and
where,
south side.
yeah,
And that'll force the traffic that wants to go faster to Southern.
no left turn from Seminole
There's no way
Grove.
to force anybody to slow down on Okeechobee Boulevard unless, I don't even think a policeman sitting there constantly could
Well,
slow
when
them
they,
down.
the city, or the county is now planning for Okeechobee east of the turnpike to go to just 11 feet per lane.
Yeah, I know, they talk about that,
Slow people down.
but the
Okay,
only
Jim.
way that people go slow is having.
Speed tables.
I think that's a real good idea, because we're certainly not gonna come up with a solution to horse trails in this exercise.
No,
But if we have something general that
Yeah.
says incorporate horse trails into the design of Okeechobee,
Yeah.
I think that's a statement in
Mhm.
support of it, but we're not trying to solve it at this point.
no, good,
Okay, I think that's good.
good.
Great.
Let's try to wrap up the next.
What time is it?
Yeah, okay.
Quarter to nine.
All right, on page 28, where I have A and then I and II, that's where I'm gonna take the uses that we came up with tonight, and expand on that. And, okay, cottage industry.
Hold on one second, so it won't say low impact non-agricultural general use categories, because some of them were agricultural or,
Okay.
Just
so,
low impact.
Look,
Yeah.
okay.
general use, because some of them are residential, some are,
True,
okay,
okay.
okay.
I'm gonna take out cottage industry and use the terms home office and residential enterprise.
Yeah, just,
Individual small business, I'm good with that. And that's where we went back to that office.
To the ISB
Yes.
that you said earlier.
Yes, right, right. And then I guess we're still gonna have some further discussion on home office and residential enterprise. Maybe we can put under the,
okay, time out one second, Jim. So you're saying that the land use designation of the property has to change in order to have that ISB on there? Because I was under the
Yes.
impression it was not changing.
yes, it is changing.
So it's changing, the residential property is staying.
So it's OQ
well,
for our fine.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is that under the ISB, it's a commercial business. And
Right.
And you have to go for a zoning change. But as part of that commercial business, you can have a residence as an accessory use.
We're gonna have to think about this only because we're creating an Okeechobee land use category.
Yeah,
So we don't want to have these little pockets of different land uses along Okeechobee Boulevard.
well, I mean, ISB is a use, it's not a. it's
That's
not
what I'm
a-
saying. So you're not gonna wanna change the land use.
Oh, I see what you're
Right.
saying, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
But there should be some other process.
Right, yeah, well, if we have, that's right, if we have a land use category
Right.
and a zoning district.
Right.
Then an ISB would be a use in a zoning district.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. all
Right.
Yeah.
So you just made this so much easier for yourself.
Well, let's keep on making it easy. Yeah, I did by taking out activity center.
Yeah.
Okay, and I've got floor area ratios.
What about this institutional development? Again, I don't know that you
Oh.
even need to identify that.
Well,
Jim.
that's true, because I was assuming that we were gonna have
Yeah.
institutional land use and zoning.
Right, so that'll come
Okay.
out.
All right. Okay.
And what if you, I don't even know, should you even put commercial development along Okeechobee Boulevard shall be limited to? Or just say
Non-residential,
Right.
or,
non-residential?
No, you can't, because you've got homes that are gonna be grandfathered in.
I think this should be a different,
yeah,
I don't know what, but
gotta come up with something besides commercial.
yeah,
Okay, all right.
because it's a
Yeah,
different,
yeah, good catch.
yeah. Shall be allowed to
Community
continue.
serving development.
Or low intensity. Include the
Mulching operation.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those are the only major points that
And then just remember cottage industry throughout the whole thing needs to be,
changed to those two.
You need cottage industry.
no, it's just a term, just the term.
Or I
It
can, or I can
confuses
come up with
people.
some other umbrella term. other than
Yeah, you
cottage.
could.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you wanna keep that policy
Yeah.
like that. Mhm.
yeah.
Well, let's set our next meeting date.
Well,
When
it's,
are they gonna get this ready for
Well,
prime time?
uh,
Well, we're not prime time.
well, I can do this, make these changes pretty quickly.
You can just send it out.
Yeah,
We can
yeah.
start working on it.
Yeah, our normal, day is the second Thursday.
Do we have anything new coming up for planning and zoning as opposed to workshop?
Well, we have a couple of applications, that are still we're working on.
Okay.
its efficiency and stuff. So,
Are they site plans or are they land use changes or?
land use change.
Well, solar is the next thing that should be coming through.
Site plan though, right? That's site plan.
Yeah, Solar Sports, they've got what they wanted to this point, and they're just sort of, I know there's a
They're looking
couple.
for a buyer.
Well, they have one very interested buyer for the institutional piece,
Brookdale?
which would have to, no, they'd have to go back in for a land use plan amendment. Because it's not assisted living.
Okay, oh, wow, okay.
So that's the only activity that I know on that. The Drysdale property is getting close to submitting a site plan. She's coming in tomorrow to go over the application, but I don't think it's gonna be ready for April. And
So let's just say that April was as a workshop. Well, let's just, maybe, let's hammer it out then, and then if we need another workshop, we can have a.
Or do you wanna do one between now and the meeting and then have, you know what I mean?
Which is next week.
No, now in between
Oh, the
April's
second, yeah,
meeting.
because that's like the 14th or
Right.
the 15th of April, yeah.
Yeah, so we could have one more just to, and then devoted specifically to.
The text of the
The
policy.
text.
The text of the policy, and then still have the regular PDC meeting.
What do you think?
Want to do that?
Well, let's see, that would be,
See,
April 9th.
you know,
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't do it then. That'd be big trouble.
We save the weekends for partying.
because I think the way we're gonna do this, I think the way we're gonna do it is we're gonna come up with a recommendation, and then we're gonna give it to the council, maybe at their first meeting in May, get their comments, and then it's gonna come back to go through the process.
Okay, so then it would be good if we met one more time
Yeah,
before
that's
you.
right, so I don't think we're gonna go straight to, public, LPA public hearings. It's gonna be more of a recommendation to the council. They look at it, tweak it, and send it back, and then we have our hearings.
Okay,
So is Wednesday or you wanna do Thursday?
I'm looking to possibly take on the leadership role of the CERT team for Wasatch Rose. And I'm gonna be moving tonight for CERT to Wednesday, so I can keep my third foot open for this meeting.
Okay, so
Thursday the 9th.
we've got the 26th, the 2nd, and the 9th. Although the 26th would be really pushing for you, so.
Yeah.
Well, the second might.
Second's fine with me.
April 2nd?
Yeah, 4 to 6:30 again.
Yeah, that's fine, it was fine with me.
Do you want, can we do 6? Could we do 6 o'clock? Would that be better for you?
Well, see, we did 6:30 because we're
Yeah,
running
I
around
can do,
6:30.
Oh,
I can
okay.
do,
And then she didn't show up.
anytime's okay with me. I mean, that you guys, because I usually come out here ahead of time and get the place set up and stuff, so whatever most convenient for you guys is the best way to go.
Well, 6:30 worked out really well for me. this
Okay,
And-
okay,
and-
okay.
And what we're talking about is not as many topics next time. We're gonna focus on one thing.
Yeah, this is the minutia of it all.
And that's true.
This is the,
Yeah.
this is the stuff,
This is the,
the
this
crux.
is where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
Mr. Flashman?
Yeah.
May I ask, I just to get me up to speed, what's going on with Valley Crest, or what are they building?
Valley Crest?
Yeah, are they adding on something?
Could we, do you mind if we just wrap this up?
Oh, sorry.
And then- Is that okay? Because then we'll take the recordings off and all of that other kind of
I
stuff.
thought y'all went through, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Is that okay? I'm sorry, I didn't
No,
mean to jump
that's,
in
that's
like that.
fine. This is a workshop, so, you know, when we come to a regular meeting, it's much more structured.
Yeah.
We'll have to actually put in,
Comment cards.
Comment, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But this
we
was
don't
great.
have
The
a-
participation was good.
This format, I mean, has worked really well 2 times in a row. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's very, very helpful, constructive.
And I'm gonna start calling all my board members the day before and reminding them.
I sent out an email this morning saying, asking Janet, hey, just checking to make sure we have a quorum for tonight.
They're so tied up.
But she
with,
was, yeah, I didn't realize she wasn't in the office. Okay, April 2nd, 6:30 here.
6:30.
And I'll send out a notice of the Big Dog Ranch
Yeah.
meeting for next week.
All right, so,
Okay.
the meeting is officially adjourned at 8:53. And, there we go.
Jim, you did a really good job on this.
Awesome.
Probably, is that still on? Jim, you did a very good job.
The video's still on and he did a
Oh, you
great
did a
job.
great job, Jim.
Especially the amount of stuff that he prepared since the last meeting.
Well, thank you all, appreciate that.
Alrighty.
That lot that is just east of Valley Crest, is that part of Tesoro or is that Valley Crest? It's
No.
between the two.
Alligator.
Yeah, it's not part of
Thank
Valley
you.
Crest.
Thank you. It's always nice when the public comes out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Valley Crest has an approved site plan, and the only thing that they can be doing on their